So I'll try and explain a concept on how to generate ambient or whatever genre you like music, other people's or yours MIDI files. So what I've done here, this is just an empty project with a MIDI file I downloaded from bitmidi.com. So, okay, so there are thousands of MIDI files here that you can check out. I use this one. So what I'm going to do here, so let's just hear how this sounds. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and use this information here. And by using the scale plugin, so with it, I'm going to fragment the MIDI notes in a sense. So I'll create a new MIDI track and I'll put the scale plugin. So with it here, it's set to chromatic. So it's not limiting the MIDI that's inputting or going through it to any scale. It will just play the same thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, for example, 4 more just for the sake of this tutorial. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to deselect the notes here. So I'm going to copy this one here. So I'm holding Control and just dragging it here. And I'm going to continue the row and remove the previous notes. And I'll do the same thing here. And the same thing here. Then I'm going to put this MIDI file and run it through these channels that I created. And so I'm using MIDI from, and this is selected as one operator. Post effects or pre-effects here, it doesn't matter. One operator, one operator, one operator. And so when I play this, oh, you have to put it to in. And so this gives us quite a bit of leverage and power to do stuff with it. So I'm going to keep the main operator and I'm going to copy it to the channels here. So I'll play it. So it's playing the same exact deal, but the difference is that now I have these other operators that I can change their characteristics or the characteristics of the synth and even the MIDI notes that are coming through it. For example, let's just change the characteristics of the synth and maybe pan the notes so you can hear how easily you can get variation from it. And what's cool here is because this is MIDI, so you have an original or somebody else's MIDI file, which is somebody else's work and somebody else's effort, but you can get really creative with it and almost generate new songs and new song ideas out of this thing quite easily. So what I could do here is I could fold this, for example, select it all, reverse it, put an arpeggiator here, make it to diverge, or so it's the same deal in the same key, but maybe I could slow it down. Or maybe I could. So maybe I'll take this one here and maybe set a random rate for it. So the entire deal requires tinkering and requires fine-tuning. But I think as a concept, you really have a lot of leverage on what to do. And so this is the MIDI file. And what I'll just do right now is just mess around with various parameters. Either it will be related to the synth, or maybe to the MIDI file that's going from or inputting to the going through the channel. And then what's really cool is that you can add in sends, and so you can add in various other effects or just other colors and textures to it. Okay. And what's really cool is that you can add in sends and automate stuff like the BPM, and you can get a really interesting textures and ideas from it. For example, I could just make this minor. So I'll take the interval and put it up 7 semitones, and then I'll make sure that it's still in key here. Then maybe I'll put this to place a bit slower. Maybe I'll change the oscillator properties here and maybe layer this. I'll add in a delay. And so I'll send this stuff through the delay. I'll just use a preset just to stay fast. This is very... Maybe I'll play around with the velocity settings here. Make sure that it's more pronounced by changing the velocity settings on the oscillator. So maybe this is too long. Maybe I'll filter this. So I put back the original one. I could go even more meta and change the pitch here. Maybe do this. So reverb here would be cool. Use a preset as well. Maybe phone call. Maybe do like a corpus thing on the master, and then take, because you can see that this is tuned here, and so you can take maybe the MIDI information from the main one, make sure that this is, make sure to adjust the gain, play around with the this. Okay, so we're already getting some kind of texture or some kind of homogeneous thing here. Maybe give it a bit more color by adding in a pedal. And so from this point on, you could just, you know, take this MIDI file and just drag it, add in variation to it, reverse it, do this, remove notes, and just, you know, make variations here, and you know, remove this, lengthen this, because it really doesn't matter, as everything is very quantized and put into key and separated. And so you could just jam out your idea and just, you know, maybe group this just so you can see it, put it to resampling, so and make sure that this is on so you can record it, and then just hit it. I mean, even if you can even be like more meticulous about it, and you can just take the MIDI information from these four and record it as well, but that's, you know, that's a whole different like ball game if you want to play. So redux here. Just to deal with the noise. So there are just various and different parameters that you already messed around with, and you can just jam out, and especially you know, you can map things. So yeah, that's the idea. Fuck yes.